What is up, you guys? It is your boy Brett and Vegas here, and welcome to another video. And today's video, we are going to be doing the NFC South grades. So before we get into today's video, like and subscribe. We are on the road to getting to 500 subscribers, and But anyway, enough said. Let's get into the video. And again, sorry I have to do this, but if somebody have not watched my NFC North or my NFC West videos, which, by the way, how dare you? You should go watch those videos right now. And two, you probably don't know how the entire grading system works. So I'll explain another like 30 to a minute to how this entire grading system works. So just to let you know. But how it works is essentially I grade off of these important categories. One of them is expectations. Teams' expectations can have a wide of different varieties of in terms of just how I would do the grading system. Injuries are the next then one, which would be essentially like pity points. You get a little bit of an extra bonus. So it's like like I guess the best way you could describe injuries is like if the project is not that particularly bad, but you also did most of the work, you get a little bit of extra points because of it. And then obviously the record itself and how far you made to the postseason do matter as well. But yeah, that's basically it. Let's start up with the rating. And the NFC South it's going to be very interesting because it's like none of these teams really did that well during during the entire season just as a whole. It's not like the NFC North where they had insanely good records, but they also didn't have a single playoff win, which is just what makes this a little interesting to rank. Let's start off with the team I've had a lot of conversations about on the channel, I feel like, is the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers, I thought heading in, this was going to be either a team that was just going to completely struggle and get the first overall pick, which they almost did, to be honest, or this team would be a better second half team rather than it being a first half team, which technically I was kind of correct with both, kind of. And my prediction of being being 5-12 kind of became in fruition. This team started out very bad, going to just get destroyed until they finally beat the Raiders. But that was when Dalton came in. Then the team slowly kind of crumbled again. Then they brought back Bryce Young, and Bryce Young started to kind of felt more that Alabama form that everybody was expecting. And that's where there's a reason why this team had to use the first overall pick on him. Which, to be fair, I think this is something that they should have done to begin with, which is not let Bryce Young have a ton of snaps because you want to let him just have some time and also just not have him get murdered behind the offensive line. And also, to be fair, that team is just kind of a mess all over. You traded Brian Burns, which honestly, looking back, looks to be one of the worst. It's just such a bad trade for the Panthers. Not only because you could have potentially gotten 2 first-round picks from him, traded him a couple of years back, but it just makes no sense in the long run because it looks like you're going to draft another edge rusher. And you know what you used on that pick? I think it got did they get Jonathan Brooks, I think? Which barely played during 2024. And it's actually funny that the Giants are a worser team, but yet the Panthers actually could have potentially contend for the NFC South if they had Brian Burns. That's actually kind of crazy to think about. I know, it's insane. So yeah, but again, it's we're not ranking the off season. We're ranking about the season, and just because it was kind of just a mutual, but still not really a good season for them, I do have to give them. I think without a doubt, definitely a D. I think this is the lowest grade I've given a single team. I mean, they are going in an up trajectory, which is something I had to point out, which is why I didn't give it a D minus. I honestly think about maybe giving them a D plus, but Like a D just makes a little bit more sense. And speaking of teams that deserve a low grade, we got the New Orleans Saints. This is another team that just kind of was so interesting because it's like this team could potentially go really well or do very bad. Which, to be fair, I was very surprised with their first two games, with them destroying the Cowboys and also destroying the Panthers, which obviously Panthers weren't really that functional, and the Cowboys are, well, the Cowboys, they weren't really even good all season, even if Dak Prescott was healthy. And then they kind of just collapsed, fired Dennis Allen, which turned out to probably be a very smart move, and yeah, just and also went 5-12. Very disappointing year for the. I think it's still a disappointing year. The fact you've kind of been in this mediocrity area for the Saints, it just kind of feels like they just really can't catch a break. This team really should just be rebuilding, and they honestly should just continue to try to rebuild. Which I don't know why they're not doing that already, but whatever. And because their expectations, in my opinion, were more of a 7-10 record rather than it being a 5-12 record, I do have to give this team a D minus. I don't think they're in an F range yet because there are a lot of other teams that I would like to give this F grade to. So I'm not gonna give it to the Saints, and a lot of the other teams honestly deserve an F grade. And speaking of teams that deserve an F grade off of just expectations alone, we got the Atlanta Falcons, who went 8-9, miss out on the postseason, despite with Kirk Cousins. Let's just talk about Kirk Cousins. How the heck did? Oh wait, actually, wait, hold on a minute. I expected this to happen. Kirk Cousins not play as good as he was in Minnesota. Oh wait, oh wow, that's so surprising. It's not surprising. I expected this to happen for the entire season. And I was honestly a little surprised that they started Michael Penix. I thought they were just going to have Kirk Cousins all year and maybe think about starting Michael Penix next year, but they actually started him earlier than I initially thought that they would. And not surprisingly, they went 8-9, didn't win the division, despite you swept the Bucks. I don't know how you can do that. That really just sounds like a Falcons fashion. So yeah, the fact that this team is kind of actually maybe even in a worser place now, and I didn't really like this is kind of what I expected for this team. But honestly, is it just me, or am I saying that this team is kind of going towards a down direction? Yes, you had an extra win this season. All right, that doesn't mean anything. You lost to the Panthers. You swept the Bucks, but you couldn't win the division. So it's just like I really can't see myself giving them a very high grade here. I think I have to give them, I think without a doubt, a C. But like I don't know, is that too generous for them? Because it's like a lot of people are expecting this team to be very good, but obviously I think this is kind of where they were, and they're also kind of in the mediocre pack. Like, is this too harsh or too generous? Or too generous? Because it's like I don't know, and that's why I kind of feel like C is the best grade here for them because it's like they honestly could be put wherever. It could probably be put in like a D plus or even potentially a B minus, depending on some people. But to me, I think a C is a very fair grade just because it's like in the middle of all of that. So yeah, but then we got the last team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and if you were telling me that this team was still going to win their division despite with Mike Evans missing out of like 4 to 5 games this year and Chris Godwin for half a season, I thought you would be kidding because I don't know how. Baker Mayfield had an incredible year. I really was expecting this team to have a bit of a down year, but I feel like even though they did lose in the wild card round, they did have an overall better season than they did last year, which I feel like is a massive W, I think, for the Bucks. This is a good direction. You finally have another receiver in the future in Jalen McMillan in case if you don't want to bring back Chris Godwin and when Mike Evans retires. Obviously, K. Alton was an amazing tight end as well. I think he was very underappreciated. Avi Divin had a really good start to his career as well. Same thing with Zyman McNollan, who's also did a solid. Just overall, I feel like a lot of people kind of underestimate how good the Bucks were doing this year, and honestly, I feel like this again, and I wasn't expecting them to win the division. I wasn't expecting them to make it up the playoffs. Not because they weren't bad. It's just they weren't really. They were kind of in a bit of a tough year division, which yet they still won the division and played very close to eventually the NFC champions. So I feel like honestly, this might be a bit too high for some people, but I think I'm gonna be giving this team a solid B, maybe B plus. I think B is a good spot for them because the Bucks just had a really good season. I feel like it's a good season. I feel like a B plus would be a bit too high of a grade for this team because I just like I'm just trying to think like maybe that's off of like maybe a disappointment of a season or something. I don't know, but it feels right to kind of put them in that B plus range, but it's kind of just my opinion. So I feel like this is a very fair spot to put the Bucks. I mean, like I'm trying to think for a sec of my past grades and should I give them a B plus or not? Because it's like I think I gave the one of the teams a B plus. I know I gave the Rams and the Lions almost the exact same grade. So do I give them a B plus? Nah. I think I'm still gonna stick with a B. I think that's fair. But anyways, I do really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace.